Chapter 939. Bewitching sat behind Bailey Hongzhuang and placed his hands on the armrests of the seat beside Bailey Hongzhuang. His handsome face was full of concern. "My dear wife, the wind will be very strong in the air if you ride on the wyvern. You can use your elemental energy to withstand the wind." Listening to Bewitching's introduction, Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. "I understand." In her previous life, she often rode on the flying beast, but in this life, it was her first time riding on it. With a thought, her elemental energy was attached to Bailey Hongzhuang's body to withstand the wind. Otherwise, if she was blown by the wind all the way, she would have many scars on her face by the time she got down. This was the reason why ordinary people and low-level cultivators could not ride on the flying beast. "We have to stay on the wyvern for more than 10 days and there are no other activities. We can only bear with it." Bewitching's handsome eyes were full of concern. He was often on the move and was already used to this situation. However, it was the first time that Hongzhuang was so tired and he was worried that Hongzhuang would not be used to it. He remembered that when he first rode on the flying beast, he was also not used to it. Moreover, Hongzhuang had just rushed from the Qing dynasty to the Tianyan kingdom. She had only rested for a short day before embarking on the journey again. He could not help but worry. Noticing Bewitching's worried expression, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a beautiful smile. "Don't worry about me, I'll be fine." Although it was her first time riding on a flying beast, she still had the experience of her previous life. Moreover, she was not a pampered person in this life. She could quickly get used to this kind of thing. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang was able to withstand the wind well, Bewitching was also relieved. His wife could really cope with anything. After Yuan Hongyang saw that Bewitching was so concerned about Bailey Hongzhuang, a smile appeared in his eyes. "Looks like young Master D and Miss Bailey are newlyweds. This relationship is really enviable." Hearing this, Bewitching smiled faintly, agreeing with Yuan Hongyang's words. "Why are you going to the snow country? Could it be the blood-ground abyss?" Yuan Hongyang curiously looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching. Over the past few years, the only people who came to the Tianyan kingdom from the snow origin country were their Yuan clan's people. It was rare to see other people going to the snow origin country. Every time he saw other people heading to the snow origin country, he would be very enthusiastic. After all, he liked to make friends. However, Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching were so young, and their strength was quite good. The blood-ground abyss was the most famous place in the snow origin kingdom, and many cultivators would go there out of admiration. Although there were very few people who could obtain the inheritance in the blood-ground abyss, the blood-ground abyss was still extremely lively. Seeing that Yuan Hongyang directly mentioned the blood-ground abyss, Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching did not avoid it and directly nodded. "That's right, our destination is the blood-ground abyss." A hint of surprise appeared in Yuan Hongyang's eyes. Although he already had a guess in his heart, he still could not help but admire them when he heard their affirmative answers. The blood-ground abyss is very dangerous. There are many heinous cultivators who kill without batting an eyelid. If you are not careful, you may not be able to walk out again. Looking at your temperaments, you should be of high status. Isn't it too dangerous for only the two of you to go to the blood-ground abyss? Chapter 940. Even if they were protected by their clans, they could still die in a place like the blood-ground abyss that was filled with blood. However, only Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching were going there alone, so it was too dangerous. Bewitching looked at Yuan Hongyang. He knew that the man did not have any intention to pry into their backgrounds and was just purely concerned. "We're just going there to take a look. Just be careful," Bailey Hongzhuang said with a faint smile. Yuan Hongyang nodded. "That's true. It's good to take advantage of this time to take a look, but you must be careful. Most of the people in the blood-ground abyss are vicious and evil, so you can't trust people easily. Once you're deceived, the consequences will be terrifying. Especially young girls, most of them can't stand such a bloody scene. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. Young Master Yuan has been to the blood-ground abyss? Yuan Hongyang thought for a moment, then nodded. That's right. My home is in Snow Country, which is not far from the blood-ground abyss. I naturally wanted to take a look when I was young. Oh. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. How did you feel after going to the blood-ground abyss, young Master Yuan? Yuan Hongyang waved his hand helplessly. I'm not afraid of being laughed at by you, but I left before I could stay for 3 days. I really couldn't get used to that kind of scene. Bewitching curled his lips. Yuan Hongyang was honest. He had seen many young people in the blood-ground abyss who left after mustering their courage. Fortunately, the vicious and evil people were not interested in some young masters at all. Otherwise, young cultivators were likely to die in there. Back then, when he entered the blood-ground abyss with his master, he also felt uncomfortable and resisted the disgust in his heart to not vomit. However, under his master's guidance, he managed to endure it. As the young sect master of Tiangang sect, if he could not even endure such an experience, how could he be qualified to take over Tiangang sect in the future? If one wanted to become a powerhouse, one's mentality was undoubtedly very important. Only after witnessing such slaughter and blood could one clearly understand how cruel the world was. The stronger one was, the more one could feel the cruelty of this world. Only when their strength reached a certain level could they live the life they wanted. He didn't know if Hongzhuang could break through the barrier in her heart, but he believed that if Bailey Hongzhuang wanted to go back to the Lan family to understand everything, then seeing more things would make her more determined. It wouldn't be bad for the future. We also heard that the blood-ground abyss is extremely extraordinary, so we wanted to see it for ourselves. Yuan Hongyang chuckled. It was indeed beneficial to gain some experience, but I later felt that my talent in cultivation was not enough, so I began to do business for my family. Young Master Yuan, are you from an aristocratic family? Bewitching asked. Yuan Hongyang nodded, I'm from the Yuan clan of the Snow Origin Country. When we reach the Snow Origin Country, if the two of you are free, you can come to my house. My family has always been hospitable. It's a great blessing to be able to make 2 more friends. Yuan Hongyang knew that Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang were not ordinary people. It would be good to know them and form a good relationship. Chapter 941. The other cultivators from the Yuan family were not too surprised when they heard that Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching were planning to head to the Snow Country. Over the years, they had been doing business outside, so many cultivators would ask them about the blood-ground abyss when they found out that they were from the Snow Country. Although the blood-ground abyss had gathered many evil people, even more people wanted to know the inheritance of the blood-ground abyss. Even though very few people could obtain the inheritance, many young people still wanted to experience it. Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching were very young, so they must be very interested in the blood-ground abyss. However, after they personally witnessed the cruelty of the blood-ground abyss, their initial interest would disappear. This was because it was not an interesting place at all, it was a place full of evil. Miss Bailey, although the blood-ground abyss has a mysterious inheritance, very few people can obtain it. Apart from a young man who obtained it a few years ago, no one else has obtained it. On the contrary, due to the uniqueness of the blood-ground abyss, many evil people gather there. This is because the blood-ground abyss is famous for being a no-man's land, so no force can continue to pursue them there. It is because of this that many evil people gather there because they have nowhere to go. You and young Master D are so young, and you don't have any powerhouses by your side. Once you go there, it'll be very dangerous, Yuan Liqing could not help but say. Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching seemed to be very good people. As long as they cultivated well, they would definitely achieve something in the future. If they entered the blood-ground abyss just like that, it would be terrible if they could not come out. Bailey Hongzhuang lived in the Snow Country. Although she had not personally been to the blood-ground abyss, she knew very well how terrifying it was. It would be a pity if Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching died there. Bailey Hongzhuang was very touched when she sensed Yuan Liqing's concern. They were just strangers who met by chance. The fact that Yuan Liqing and Yuan Hongyang could persuade him like this showed that they were kind-hearted people. Thank you for your advice, Miss Yuan. Since Beichen and I have already set off for Snow Origin Country, it would be a pity if we didn't go and take a look. Don't worry, we'll be extra careful. If there's any problem, we'll leave immediately. After all, we are also people who cherish our lives. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Seeing how serious Bailey Hongzhuang was, Yuan Liqing nodded. You're right. You have to be careful. In the following days, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen would occasionally cultivate or chat with the cultivators of the Yuan family. They had learned a lot about the Snow Origin Kingdom from the Yuan family's cultivators. A place that was covered in snow all year round also had scenery that no other place could have. As Bailey Hongzhuang listened to the narration of the people of the Yuan family, she also looked forward to the Snow Origin Kingdom. While riding on the flying beast, Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but sigh. Back then, when she was riding on the flying beast, using her Yuan power to withstand the fierce wind was a simple matter. However, her current cultivation was not just a little bit different from back then. Therefore, after about a day, her Yuan power was exhausted. Chapter 942. Because of this, Bailey Hongzhuang grasped the time she had to cultivate on the flying beast. She had learned about the terror of the bloody ground abyss from Yuan Hongyang and the others. With her current cultivation, it would undoubtedly be risky for her to go there. Therefore, it would be good for her to take advantage of this opportunity to increase her strength. When Yuan Hongyang and the others saw that Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen were so focused on their cultivation, they understood that both of them prioritized their cultivation. Therefore, they did not disturb Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen much. In their opinion, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen were very impressive for being able to reach such a cultivation at such a young age. They must have been extremely hard-working in their cultivation. Time gradually passed, and finally, the snow country appeared in everyone's line of sight. We're almost at the snow country. Yan Laosan's voice was filled with excitement. The journey had been too long. Even though he often rode on the wyvern between the two countries, he still could not take it. When Bailey Hongzhuang heard Yan Laosan's words, she stopped cultivating and looked ahead. Everything in sight was white. A huge country was shrouded in ice and snow. It was truly a country of ice and snow. Every building was covered in ice and snow. It was as if it was a world in a video. However, a strong cold surrounded Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. As cultivators, their ability to resist the cold was undoubtedly much stronger than ordinary people, but this kind of bone-chilling cold was also somewhat unbearable for Bailey Hongzhuang. Di Beichen was also helpless. He knew that the snow country was covered in ice and snow all year round. However, it was not winter in the Sky Yen Kingdom. Therefore, the clothing stores did not sell winter clothes. Yuan Hongyang and the others had already taken out their winter clothes and put them on. When they saw that Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen did not have any winter clothes, Yuan Hongyang immediately took out his own winter clothes and another one from Yuan Liqing. Only then did he look at Di Beichen. Master Di, the snow country has always been cold. This is your first time in the snow country, so I'm afraid you don't know about this. Put on these two pieces of clothing for the time being. Yuan Hongyang handed the clothes in his hand to Di Beichen, his eyes showing a bit of concern. Di Beichen looked at the clothes, and a touch of gratitude appeared in his eyes. Thank you, young Master Yuan. After taking the clothes, Di Beichen quickly put them on Bailey Hongzhuang. He was fine with it, but he couldn't let Hongzhuang catch a cold. Feeling the clothes on her body, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled at Di Beichen. Thank you. Bailey Hongzhuang turned to look at Yuan Hongyang and said with a smile, Brother Yuan, thank you. Yuan Hongyang waved his hand. It's just a coat to keep out the cold. No need to thank me. We often travel between the Snow Country and the Sky Yen Kingdom. Therefore, we prepared a lot of clothes for both sides. Yuan Liqing said with a smile. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. To be able to meet this group of good people from the Yuan family was something to be happy about. In the evening, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others successfully arrived at the border city of the Snow Country, the Yuanwu city. When Bailey Hongzhuang walked down from the wyvern, she felt that she had been sitting for more than 10 days. Her entire body was stiff. After moving around, she felt refreshed. Chapter 943. Big Brother Yuan, thank you for your kindness. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly said, however, this is too troublesome. Bewitching and I will stroll around the origin martial city and stay in an inn. Although Yuan Hongyang and the others were very hospitable, the two of them were still outsiders. It would be too troublesome for them to directly disturb the Yuan family. Moreover, they would not stay in the origin martial city for long. It would not be long before they left. Hearing this, Yuan Hongyang understood Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching's thoughts and did not insist. He smiled and said, then we will bid farewell here. I hope that we will meet again in the future. Bewitching nodded, if there is a chance in the future, I will definitely invite young Master Yuan for a drink. It's a promise, haha. It's a promise. Yuan Hongyang and the other four left. They had brought back a lot of supplies from the Sky Swallow Kingdom. The Snow Origin Kingdom was cold all year round and it was difficult for food to grow. Therefore, most of them went out to do business to satisfy their family's needs. After Yuan Hongyang and the others left, Bewitching held Bailey Hongzhuang's little hand. His handsome face was slightly apologetic. My wife, the Snow Origin Kingdom has always been cold. How about we go buy some clothes to keep out the cold? Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly and held Bewitching's hand tightly. She smiled and said, all right, the Snow Origin Kingdom is so cold. I don't think we can buy such cold clothes near the Sky Swallow Kingdom. In the past, even the winters in the Fengbo Kingdom were not as cold as the Snow Origin Kingdom. The citizens of this kingdom were almost always in winter. Bewitching understood that Bailey Hongzhuang was comforting him. He held Bailey Hongzhuang's hand tighter. Let's quickly enter the city. Origin Martial City. As soon as they entered the city, Bailey Hongzhuang noticed that this city was different from the Fengbo Kingdom. The wide road was enough for 8 carriages to drive side by side. The entire city was clean and sparkling. There were almost no people setting up stalls on both sides of the street. Everything was sold in shops. Thinking about it, the Snow Origin country was truly too cold, and most of the commoners were ordinary people. If they were to set up a stall outside, the cold air would be unbearable. However, it was precisely because there were no stalls by the side of the streets that the entire city appeared even larger. At a glance, the food in the shop was emitting a bit of steam, which greatly increased one's appetite. Bewitching noticed Bailey Hongzhuang's expression and a smile appeared in his eyes. He rarely saw such a cute side of Bailey Hongzhuang. Normally, Hongzhuang had always been strong and confident, but now that she was with him, she showed the expression that a woman of her age should have. We've been eating dry rations on the wyvern for so many days. It's been a long time since we've had warm food and wine. Let's go change our clothes before we go eat. What do you think? Bailey Hongzhuang nodded and her smile became even brighter. Okay. Now that she and Bewitching had come to a place where no one knew them, she felt very happy. If one day, she and Bewitching could live a leisurely life like this, it would be great. Soon, Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching bought a few sets of cotton-padded clothes. After changing into a set of cotton-padded clothes, they looked more compatible with the Snow Origin Kingdom. Chapter 944. In the restaurant. Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching ordered a table full of food and wine. They had not eaten hot food for a while, so the two of them were really hungry. Xiao He and Xiao Bai kept rubbing their hands together. They could not wait any longer. When the food and wine were served, Xiao He and Xiao Bai quickly reached out and started eating. Oh my God, I've only been eating dry food for the past few days. My mouth is almost tasteless. Xiao He's eyes were sparkling. She looked like she had been starving for many days. Once she saw food, her eyes lit up and she could not wait to stuff all the food into her stomach. Xiao Bai directly chewed on the pork trotters. As she chewed, she said, "Delicious." Bai Shi was also eating at the side. Compared to Xiao He and Xiao Bai, he was undoubtedly more refined. Looking at the three beasts eating heartily, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen looked at each other and smiled. "Wife, it must have been very troublesome when you brought the three of them out to eat in the past, right?" Di Beichen joked with a smile. Xiao He and Xiao Bai, whom no one had seen before, just had to be two such gluttons. Bailey Hongzhuang probably had a lot of trouble feeding these two fellows. Hearing that, Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but chuckle. "I always order a lot of food and bring it back. Xiao He and Xiao Bai are unhappy when they don't have anything to eat." Di Beichen's gaze landed on Xiao He and Xiao Bai. Based on how much these two gluttons loved to eat, Hongzhuang was probably having a hard time. Xiao He and Xiao Bai did not feel embarrassed at all when they heard Bailey Hongzhuang's words. Xiao He even raised her head and puffed out her chest. Eating is the most important thing in life. Bailey Hongzhuang picked up her chopsticks and knocked on Xiao He's head. "Just eat your food." Xiao He puffed up her cheeks in dissatisfaction. However, after looking at the table full of food, she forgot about it and began to gorge herself again. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen were also eating. However, the way they ate was extremely elegant. Many people in the restaurant looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen. Many people in Yuanwu City were very familiar with them. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen were clearly not from Yuanwu City. However, they were not surprised. This was because many people from other places would often come to Yuanwu City. This was because the Bloody Ground Abyss was not very far from Yuanwu City. Many cultivators who came to the Bloody Ground Abyss would temporarily rest in Yuanwu City. Because of this, even though Yuanwu City was a border city of snow origin country, it was very prosperous. In Yuanwu City, everyone had seen almost all kinds of people. Therefore, when they saw Bailey Hongzhuang and Xiao He, they were not surprised. However, when they saw Xiao He, Xiao Bai, and Bai Shi, their gazes could not help but linger a little longer. They had seen many cultivators with contracted beasts in Yuanwu City. However, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen had 3 contracted beasts. It was undoubtedly very strange. Moreover, these 3 beasts did not seem to have any fighting strength. However, they gave people a feeling that they were very intelligent. Contracted beasts were something that only a small number of cultivators could possess. Therefore, no matter where they were, they would attract attention. "Hey, do you know what kind of contracted beast that is? Why have I never seen one like that before?" Chapter 945. No matter what kind of contract beast it is, the 2 of them should only have 2 contract beasts. Why do they have 3 contract beasts? Everyone was puzzled. Could it be that there was one contract beast that had not been contracted yet? If there was no contract, why was that contract beast so obedient? As everyone knew, other than contract beasts, ordinary beasts would attack humans when they saw them. How could they eat so obediently at the side? This was really too strange. Many people's gazes vaguely fell on the 3 beasts. They were really curious about the reason behind this. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen also felt the gazes of the crowd, but the 2 of them had long been accustomed to the various gazes of others over the years. Now, these gazes no longer had any effect on them. As long as the other party did not come to find trouble, no matter how the other party looked at them, they would not have any thoughts. Bailey Hongzhuang also knew that it was indeed strange for 3 contract beasts to eat together here. However, she believed that the people of Yuanwu City must have seen many people from the bloody ground abyss. Although such a thing was strange, it was not too surprising. "Wife, do you want to rest in Yuanwu City for a few days?" Di Beichen asked. Ever since they left the Qing dynasty, they had been hurrying on their journey. Especially after staying on the Wyvern for so long, Hongzhuang must be very tired. Once they entered the bloody ground abyss, they would need to be very cautious. Only now could they relax a little in Yuanwu City. Bailey Hongzhuang thought for a moment. She also understood why Di Beichen would say such words at this time. Indeed, in such a place full of danger, the slightest carelessness could cause them to lose their lives. The 2 of them should go in their best condition. Thinking of this, Bailey Hongzhuang slowly said, "Why don't we stay in Yuanwu City for 2 more days? After 2 days, we will go to the bloody ground abyss. How about it?" Di Beichen smiled dotingly, "I will listen to my wife." Bailey Hongzhuang's smile widened a little. Although it was very tiring to be on the Wyvern for the past few days, she felt very fulfilled and satisfied at the thought of Di Beichen accompanying her. While Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen were eating happily, a group of people came down from the 2nd floor. Lu Xuerong's gaze landed on the 3 furry demon beasts on Bailey Hongzhuang's table. She didn't expect that there would be such cute contracted beasts. Just looking at the 3 little fellows eating happily, Lu Xuerong felt envious. Powerful contracted beasts were hard to come by, so she didn't expect much. She only wanted to contract a cute demonic beast so that she could have a companion. However, she hadn't been able to find a suitable demonic beast. She didn't expect that there would be 3 of them here. "Big brother Xia, that demonic beast is so cute." Lu Xuerong tugged at the sleeve of the man beside her, her eyes filled with anticipation. If she could get this contracted beast into her hands, that would be great. Hearing Lu Xuerong's words, Xia Honglang's gaze also looked in the direction Lu Xuerong was pointing at. Sure enough, he saw a man and a woman eating dinner. Beside the 2 of them were 3 demonic beasts, 1 black and 2 white, eating. They looked very obedient. Chapter 946. Following Xia Honglang's words, Lu Xuerong's eyes could not help but be filled with joy. "Big brother Xia, I knew you're the best to me." Seeing the adoration in Lu Xuerong's eyes, Xia Honglang's heart was moved. He had been pursuing Lu Xuerong for a while now, and it could be said that he was in a good state. He could clearly feel that Lu Xuerong's love for him was growing deeper and deeper. It seemed that he would be able to successfully marry the Lu family's young miss this time. As long as he gave this contracted beast to Lu Xuerong would never be able to escape from his grasp. Thinking of this, Xia Honglang looked at the 3 demonic beasts with a determined heart. Not to mention 1 contracted beast, even if Lu Xuerong wanted these 3 contracted beasts, he would take them all together. In the next moment, Xia Honglang walked towards Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen. Everyone who was eating in the main hall was surprised when they saw Xia Honglang and Lu Xuerong. It seemed that the rumors of the Xia family and Lu family being connected by marriage were true. The 3 major families of the origin martial city, the Yuan family, the Xia family, and the Lu family. These 3 families had been passed down for many years and held important positions in the origin martial city. However, the Yuan family's strength was currently at its peak and was slightly stronger than the Xia family and Lu family. If the Xia family and Lu family were connected by marriage, their strength would definitely surpass the Yuan family. All these years, they had heard that the Xia family and Yuan family were not on good terms. However, they had always been afraid of the Yuan family's strength and did not dare to make a move. Now that the Xia family's 2nd young master and the Lu family's 3rd young miss looked so close, it was likely that the Xia family wanted to use the marriage as an opportunity to ally with the Lu family. This way, they would be able to suppress the Yuan family. When they thought of this, everyone's expression changed. Once the Xia clan and the Lu clan joined forces, the situation in the Yuanwu city would change drastically. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen were eating when they suddenly realized that a group of people had stopped beside them. They could not help but frown. "How much are you selling your contracted beasts?" Xia Honglang said indifferently. His tone was filled with arrogance as usual. In his opinion, this kind of contract beast that didn't have any attack power was useless. Only girls would like it. Similarly, this kind of contract beast wouldn't be expensive. Even if these 3 contract beasts looked a bit cuter, it wouldn't be much more expensive. Di Beichen frowned at the guy who had suddenly appeared and said coldly, "Not for sale." Xiao He, Xiao Bai, and Bai Shi all stared at Xia Honglang. What a joke! Are they for sale? Why does this sound a little strange? However, how could such amazing beasts be bought so easily? Where did this kind of blind idiot come from? Seeing Di Beichen reject him so decisively and coldly, Xia Honglang's face turned cold. He had spoken nicely earlier, but the other party actually dared to rudely refute him. One had to know that in the entire Origin Martial City, not many people dared to refute him like this. "Didn't you bring these 3 contracted beasts to sell?" "I don't care what the price is, as long as you name it." Xia Honglang was extremely generous. Marrying Lu Xuerong was a mission given to him by the entire family. Chapter 947. When Lu Xuerong saw that Xia Honglang was so generous to her, a hint of joy surfaced in her heart. In her opinion, as long as she liked something, Xia Honglang would do everything possible to buy it for her. It could be seen how much Xia Honglang liked her. Although Xia Honglang's strength could not compare to the young master of the Xia clan, he could still be considered distinguished and elegant. His background was extraordinary, and he treated her so well, so she also liked Xia Honglang very much. Di Beichen turned his gaze away, his pair of deep eyes suddenly filled with an infinite coldness, as if it was winter, chilling to the bone. "I said, I'm not selling." His deep and magnetic voice was filled with warning. He only wanted to have a good meal with Hongzhuang and relax. This kind of tactless fellow was really ruining his good mood. Bailey Hongzhuang also turned her head to look at Xia Honglang and Lu Xuerong behind her, her expression revealing some displeasure. "You can leave now." When Xia Honglang saw Bailey Hongzhuang's appearance, he could not help but be surprised for a moment. When he saw Di Beichen earlier, he already felt that Di Beichen was too handsome, but he did not expect this white-dressed woman to be so beautiful. The Yuanwu city was covered in ice and snow all year round, so the women's skin was extremely white, and they were filled with beauties. Lu Xuerong was already an outstanding beauty, but compared to the woman in front of him, there was a huge gap. When Lu Xuerong saw Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang, her eyes were filled with astonishment. Previously, her attention was focused on the 3 furry demonic beasts, so she did not notice the 2 of them. At this moment, she only felt that the 2 of them had extraordinary bearings. It would be extremely difficult for them to buy this contract beast. Although Bailey Hongzhuang and Lu Xuerong's attitude was very clear, Xia Honglang still did not have any plans to leave. After all, this was something that Lu Xuerong wanted very much. Furthermore, a cultivator could only contract 1 demonic beasts. There were 3 demonic beasts in front of him, so it was obvious that there was 1 demonic beast that had not been contracted. "It's enough that you have 2 contracted beasts. Why can't you sell the other one to me?" Xia Honglang frowned slightly. After seeing Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen's temperament, he felt that these 2 might have a certain background. Therefore, he wanted to avoid offending the 2 of them as much as possible. Otherwise, if it was someone else, he would have taken the demonic beast away. Bailey Hongzhuang stood up, her expression indifferent and distant. "These 3 demonic beasts have already been contracted by me. Do you understand now?" The gazes of the people in the restaurant landed on Bailey Hongzhuang and Xia Honglang's group. There were not many people in the Origin Martial City who dared to treat Xia Honglang in such a manner. After all, a powerful dragon could not suppress a local snake. Even though many foreign cultivators frequently appeared in the Origin Martial City, they were unwilling to offend the three great clans of the Origin Martial City. However, the white-clothed woman's words made them feel helpless. If she had used some other reason to explain it, it would have been fine. However, one person had contracted 3 demonic beasts. Was she not treating Xie Honglang like a fool? No matter who she told this reason to, no one would believe her. Xie Honglang's reaction was naturally the same as everyone else's. He was not angry but smiled. However, there was a hint of coldness in his smile. "Miss, you can't be thinking of using such an impossible reason to fool me, right?" Chapter 948. Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at Xie Honglang indifferently. This world was like this, no one believed her when she spoke the truth. "It's up to you whether you believe me or not." Bailey Hongzhuang shrugged her shoulders. "We still need to eat, you can leave now." When her voice fell, Bailey Hongzhuang did not care about Xie Honglang and the others and sat down to eat. Her gaze landed on Xiao He, Xiao Bai and Bai Shi. Speaking of which, these 3 little fellows looked really cute and didn't look like demonic beasts with battle strength at all. Thinking about it, anyone who saw them would think so. However, for such cute creatures, most women would not be able to resist the temptation. However, if everyone knew the true strength of these 3 beasts, they would probably be extremely shocked. Her contracted beasts were really each more powerful than the other. Bewitching couldn't be bothered with Xie Honglang and the others. It would be best if these fellows could understand the situation and leave. Otherwise, he would have to stretch his muscles and bones. Xie Honglang saw that Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching didn't give him any face and treated him as an invisible person eating at the side. He felt a wave of displeasure in his heart. He, Xie Honglang, had lived in Yuanwu City for so many years and had never been treated like this by anyone. It was simply abominable. Lu Xuerong's eyes were burning with anger. They had already given these 2 a lot of face by negotiating with them. Who would have thought that these 2 fellows actually didn't know how to appreciate favors? "Hey, do you know who we are?" Lu Xuerong said angrily. These 2 people were too arrogant in Yuanwu City. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled up. It seemed that these 2 people still didn't know how to read the situation. She just couldn't understand why so many young ladies like to throw a tantrum. There's always someone better than you. Don't they know that there's always someone better than you? Scram! Bewitching spat out a word from his thin lips. The sudden appearance of this group of people had disturbed their mood of eating, and now they even dared to speak to them with such an attitude. They were simply courting death. Bewitching's handsome face was covered with a layer of frost, and the side of his face was dyed with a grave and stern expression. It was just a simple word, but an indescribable aura erupted from Bewitching's body. He was like a natural king, high and mighty, enough to look down on everything. His entire body was emitting a noble aura. This simple word seemed to explode in the entire restaurant. Everyone looked at Bewitching in shock. In Origin Martial City, there was actually someone who dared to tell Xie Honglang and Lu Xuerong to scram. This was truly a rare occurrence. If this happened to someone else, they would definitely think that the other party was courting death. However, after seeing Bewitching's kingly attitude, they couldn't figure it out. "I feel that this man and woman look extremely extraordinary. Their background shouldn't be simple. Otherwise, they wouldn't dare to speak to second young Master Xia like this. These 2 people are very unfamiliar. Maybe they just came to Origin Martial City and don't know the identity of young Master Xia and young Lady Lu. That's why they can be so unrestrained. Looks like there will be a good show to watch. It's still unclear who will win in the end." Everyone's eyes were filled with interest as their gazes landed on Bailey Hongzhuang, Xie Honglang, and the others. Origin Martial City was very close to the blood-ground abyss. Therefore, everyone was affected and was infected with a valiant aura. Chapter 949. With regards to conflicts, this was something that the cultivators of the origin martial city loved to watch. Even though it had erupted in the restaurant, they were not worried that they would be implicated. They only wanted to know who had won in the end. Following Di Beichen's words, Xie Honglang's face immediately turned ashen. The fact that the other party did not give him any face had ignited his anger. Do you know that in the territory of the origin martial city, no one has ever dared to say that word to me? Xie Honglang narrowed his eyes and his words were filled with threat. The group of lackeys behind Xie Honglang had already drawn their weapons and were about to attack. Then I'll be the first. Di Beichen coldly looked at Xie Honglang and put down the chopsticks in his hand. Although this meal had been ruined by this blind fellow, they were almost full. Hearing Di Beichen's words, Xie Honglang became even angrier. Since you don't know what's good for you, then don't blame me for being impolite. If it wasn't for the fact that he had to maintain a certain level of composure in front of Lu Xuerong, Xie Honglang would have killed Di Beichen long ago. This fellow actually dared to humiliate him in public. He did not even consider his own status. Di Beichen looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang also nodded her head indifferently as a playful look appeared in her eyes. Speaking of which, they had been sitting on the wyvern for too long these past few days and felt uncomfortable all over. They never expected that someone would send them to exercise their muscles and bones. Everyone looked at Bailey Hongzhuang's smile and a hint of intoxication appeared in their eyes. Such a beauty was truly rare in the world. Just a smile was enough to intoxicate them. Kill them. A malicious and ruthless look flashed across Xie Honglang's eyes. He would never allow such a fellow to live until tomorrow. Lu Xuerong was also very calm. In the origin martial city, there were many violent incidents. Although she was a woman, she was already used to this kind of thing. People who don't know how to appreciate favors should be sent to see the king of hell early on. Xiao He and Xiao Bai also put down their food at this moment. Speaking of which, this matter was completely caused by them. Now that there was a problem, they naturally could not stand by and do nothing. The 5 men immediately walked towards Bailey Hongzhuang. Feeling the aura of these 5 people, Bailey Hongzhuang's heart was also a little surprised. It seemed that Xie Honglang's identity was not simple. Although these 5 men were not young, 3 of them were Red Realm cultivators. This alone was enough to prove Xie Honglang's background. Going out for a meal, there were 5 hired thugs following him. They should be a local faction of the origin martial city. However, no matter what kind of background Xie Honglang had, she and Di Beichen wouldn't care. After all, they were passing by the origin martial city. Even if they killed Xie Honglang and Xiao He, they could still leave without a care. When Di Beichen heard Xie Honglang say that he wanted to kill them, a cold light appeared in his eyes. His deep black eyes were also quietly filled with killing intent. Bailey Hongzhuang stood quietly at the side. Her exquisite and beautiful face had an enchanting and playful smile, as if she was watching a good show. With Di Beichen's strength, dealing with these fellows would only take a few seconds. It was an instant kill. Chapter 950. When everyone saw Bailey Hongzhuang's indifferent expression as she watched the show, a hint of astonishment surfaced in their eyes. Xie Honglang's hired thugs were not weak, but this woman did not seem to feel any danger. It was too strange. Lu Xuerong looked at Bailey Hongzhuang's self-righteous look and sneered in her heart. A strong dragon could not suppress a local snake. Even though these two were not weak, offending the Xia and Lu families in the origin martial city was courting death. She wanted to see how long this woman could be proud of herself. Once this man was defeated, this woman would probably cry and beg them. Xie Honglang's gaze landed on the 3 demonic beasts. A faint smile appeared on his face, as if victory was already in his grasp. Little sister Xuerong, which demonic beast do you like? Xie Honglang asked with a smile. Hearing this, a smile appeared in Lu Xuerong's eyes. She immediately looked at the three demonic beasts. Only then did she realize that aside from the different colors, the black and white demonic beasts looked exactly the same. The other white demonic beast was a little different. However, they both had furry bodies and were very cute. These three demonic beasts are all very cute. I don't know which one is better. Lu Xuerong's expression was somewhat hesitant. She only wanted to find a cute demonic beast. These three were really difficult to choose. Seeing that Lu Xuerong did not know what to do, Xie Honglang laughed faintly. There's no rush. I'll give these three demonic beasts to you later. You can take your time to choose. Big brother Xie, you're so good to me. The corners of Lu Xuerong's eyes were filled with joy. Xie Hongyang was so good to her, and in front of everyone, she felt that she had even more face. These two idiots. Bai Shi looked at Xie Honglang and Lu Xuerong in dissatisfaction. They hadn't even made a move yet, but the two of them were already discussing the result. It was a little too early to be happy. This woman doesn't even look at her own talent. She wants to contract us. Dream on. Xiao He also spoke out indignantly. What kind of existence was it in Xiao Bai? Other than its master, they did not like anyone else. Idiot. Xiao Bai had always been simple with its words. At this moment, it only gave a comment that it felt was very appropriate. The conflict broke out in an instant. After hearing Xie Honglang's order, Xie Honglang's thugs immediately pulled out their weapons and fiercely rushed toward Di Beichen. In their opinion, although Di Beichen looked very extraordinary, with Di Beichen's age, his strength couldn't be that strong. It could only be said that Di Beichen was too stupid. He could have offended anyone, but he had to offend young Master Xie. However, when the thugs attacked Di Beichen was unusually calm, as if the person they wanted to kill was not him, and he was just watching an unimportant play. Suddenly, Di Beichen slapped the table with his right hand, and the chopsticks flew up into the air. Di Beichen's elemental energy surged out, and the chopsticks shot towards the thugs like weapons. Bang! Bang bang bang! The sound of heavy objects falling to the ground rang out, and the entire restaurant fell into silence. Even the sound of a pin dropping could be heard. The surrounding crowd unconsciously held their breaths as they watched the scene in front of them in horror. This was really too terrifying. He immediately knelt down and begged for mercy. Master, I was blind. Please forgive me. I beg you to let us go. I won't dare to do it again. Lu Xuerong, who was at the side, was already scared silly. At this moment, she could only stare blankly at Di Beichen, not knowing what to do. When Xie Honglang saw Lu Xuerong's expression, he quickly pulled Lu Xuerong. Only then did Lu Xuerong react. She immediately knelt beside Xie Honglang. At this moment, the two of them couldn't care less about losing face. Disregarding everything else, their lives were the most important. If they lost their lives, then they would really be finished. Chapter 952. While Xie Honglang and Lu Xuerong were begging for mercy, no one in the restaurant dared to even breathe loudly. Previously, they had never thought that this couple would be so powerful. Then, when they looked at the woman in white who had been smiling faintly from the beginning, they felt that these two were unfathomable. From the very beginning, these two had never taken Xie Honglang and the others seriously. Now, when they saw Xie Honglang and Lu Xuerong begging for mercy, the crowd did not feel that they were being humiliated. This was because when faced with such powerful cultivators, begging for mercy was the wisest thing to do. Anything else would be truly foolish. Xiao He, Xiao Bai, and Bai Shi were exasperated. They had wanted to use this opportunity to show off their powers, but they never thought that before they could do anything, Di Beichen had made his move and everything was over. Di Beichen turned around to look at Bailey Hongzhuang. His initially cold and pressurizing gaze instantly softened as a smile appeared on his cold and handsome face. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled at Di Beichen as well. Her lucid and beautiful features carried a sense of indolence. Clearly, she would listen to everything Di Beichen says. Di Beichen's heart softened when he saw how gentle and lovely his wife was. He felt so blessed to be with Hongzhuang like this. The crowd, who had originally thought that Di Beichen was a terrifying person, were now filled with envy when they saw how much Di Beichen doted on Bailey Hongzhuang. This kind of perfect man who had both strength and looks could actually treat this girl so well. This girl was simply their role model. After Di Beichen noticed the look on Bailey Hongzhuang's face, he already understood her thoughts. His eyes slowly fell on Xie Honglang and Lu Shuirong, and his face once again returned to its previous indifference. Get lost. Xie Honglang was stunned when he heard Di Beichen's words. He could not help but wonder if he had heard wrongly. Ask him to get lost? If he could, he really wanted to get the hell out of here, but Lu Shuirong's reaction allowed him to understand that he didn't hear wrongly. He was immediately delighted in his heart and hurriedly said, we'll scram right now. As long as he was still alive, it didn't matter how he was told to scram. Seeing Xie Honglang's expression as if he had been granted amnesty, no one laughed. Instead, they felt that Xie Honglang's luck was pretty good. Otherwise, the two of them would have already lost their lives. However, just as Xie Honglang was about to leave, Bailey Hongzhuang's voice suddenly rang out. Wait! As soon as these words were spoken, Xie Honglang and Lu Shuirong's expressions instantly turned ugly. When they heard Di Beichen telling them to get lost, they felt as if they had entered heaven. Now, when they heard Bailey Hongzhuang's words, they felt as if they had fallen into hell. Could it be that they still couldn't keep their lives? Xie Honglang turned around and revealed a smile that was uglier than crying. What's wrong? Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled slightly as she looked lazily at Xie Honglang. Leave your Qiankuan pouch. Since they had disturbed their meal, she could not let them leave so casually. At the very least, they had to pay a certain price. From Xie Honglang and Lu Shuirong's earlier performance, she could tell that their identities were not ordinary. Naturally, their Qiankuan pouch was very rich. Since there was such an opportunity, it would not be her style not to rob them. Chapter 953. Yes. Xie Honglang happily took off his Qiankuan bag and placed it on the table. To the current him, as long as the other party did not want his life, everything was negotiable. Although the items in the Qiankuan bag were very valuable, it was not as important as his life. Lu Shuirong followed closely behind Xie Honglang and took off her Qiankuan bag. She looked at Bailey Hongzhuang anxiously, afraid that Bailey Hongzhuang would be displeased. Seeing that Xie Honglang and Lu Shuirong had obediently left their Qiankuan bags behind, Bailey Hongzhuang waved her hand. Let's go. Following Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Xie Honglang and Lu Shuirong swiftly disappeared from the crowd's sight as if they had been pardoned from a death sentence. They looked as if they were afraid that they would be left behind again if they were too slow. They had probably used their fastest speed on a daily basis. Bailey Hongzhuang held Xie Honglang and Lu Shuirong's Qiankuan bags as a sly smile appeared in her eyes. She had obtained 2 Qiankuan bags out of nowhere. It was another fortune. Di Beichen looked at Bailey Hongzhuang, who was smiling like a fox, and the adoration in his eyes deepened. This Bailey Hongzhuang was exactly the same as when he had first met her. Bailey Hongzhuang weighed the Qiankuan bags in her hands before looking at Di Beichen next to her. She smiled sweetly and said, let's go. Di Beichen smiled and nodded. All right. The entire restaurant was dead silent. Only Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen's voices could be heard. Bailey Hongzhuang carried Baisher while Xiao He and Xiao Bai jumped onto Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen's shoulders respectively. Then, the two of them left the restaurant under everyone's gaze. After seeing what Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen had done, the manager didn't even dare to ask for the money. However, Di Beichen still placed the money on the counter. It wasn't until Bailey Hongzhuang and Lin Yiqian left the restaurant that the sound returned to the restaurant. My God, where did these two people come from? Isn't he a little too strong? Fortunately, we didn't offend them before. Otherwise, our fates would have been even worse. That man is so young, but I didn't expect him to be so powerful. It's really amazing. The crowd sighed in amazement. They had secretly decided that if they ever encounter Bailey Hongzhuang and Lin Yiqian in the future, they must not offend them at all. They must be tired of living. Master, why didn't you kill them? After Bailey Hongzhuang and Lin Yiqian had left the restaurant, Xiao He could not help but ask. From her point of view, since Xie Honglang had dared to harbor murderous intentions towards them, he deserved to be killed. What's more, this guy actually wants to buy me out. Dream on. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled as her clear eyes flickered with a wise light. One look and you can tell that those two have some background. Just based on the expressions of the other people in the restaurant, you can tell that they should be members of Origin Martial City's local forces. We're only passing by Origin Martial City and will be leaving in 2 days. If we kill those two, we'll be faced with endless troubles later on. There's no need for that. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen understood that the other party had been scared out of their wits and would not dare to cause any trouble for them. Since that was the case, what was the point of sparing their lives? Besides, they wouldn't be staying in Origin Martial City for long, so there was no conflict of interest. Chapter 954. After Bailey Hongzhuang and Lu Zichen settled down in the inn, the incident that happened in the restaurant quickly spread throughout the entire Yuanwu city. Xie Honglang and Lu Xuerong's faces had been completely thrown away in a short period of time. Many people who heard the news did not think that Di Beichen and Lu Xuerong were very powerful. They only thought that Xie Honglang and the others were too useless. After all, without seeing it with their own eyes, they still had doubts about Di Beichen's strength. Regarding this, Xie Honglang felt helpless. Although this kind of ridicule and sarcasm made him feel embarrassed, compared to losing his life, this kind of result was clearly nothing. As for these rumors, he was unable to stop them. However, he believed that after a period of time, everyone would gradually forget about this news. Bailey Hongzhuang habitually asked for 2 rooms, one for her and one for Di Beichen. Only after the two of them walked upstairs did Bailey Hongzhuang react. They were already married, so there was no need to book 2 rooms. Di Beichen did not immediately return to his room. Instead, he followed Bailey Hongzhuang into the room. Beichen, Bailey Hongzhuang stared at Di Beichen. In her heart, she had already determined that Di Beichen was her lover. Just now, she had only done it out of habit and did not wish for Di Beichen to misunderstand. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's awkward expression, Di Beichen's lips curled into a smile. Wife, there's no need to say any more. I understand. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but be startled. Even she herself did not know what the reason was, but Di Beichen was actually able to understand. You understand? Di Beichen nodded his head slightly, his handsome eyes filled with gentleness. Although we are already married, we were forced to marry under the pressure of the Fengbo country's royal family. You did not marry me sincerely. Now, our hearts are connected, but I still owe you a truly grand wedding. Di Beichen's starry eyes were filled with a resplendent light. Back then, the wedding might have been grand in Fengbo country, but to him, it was completely not enough. This time, he wanted Bailey Hongzhuang to be his wife willingly. He wanted her to marry him willingly, not because she was forced to do so, but because she was happy. He wanted to marry Bailey Hongzhuang in Tiangang's sect and let everyone know that Bailey Hongzhuang was the only true love of his life, Di Beichen. Following these words, Bailey Hongzhuang heard Di Beichen's words. She was slightly stunned, she was touched, of course. She did not think that Beichen would think so much. Beichen had thought. When they got married, she did not know about Beichen's feelings for her. She had always thought that it was a collaboration between the two of them. At the wedding, other than Ji Wenbin and the other two, no one else had anything to do with them. Even Beichen's most important master was not present. It was a pity. Beichen. Beichen gently pulled Bailey Hongzhuang into his arms. To me, you are a unique treasure in this world. I don't want you to have any regrets. I only want to do my best to make you happy. In the past, he did not have any other thoughts besides being filial to his master. However, Bailey Hongzhuang's appearance had illuminated his originally monotonous life. She was so beautiful that he wanted to give her all the beauty in the world. He only wanted to see her smile, and he felt that it was enough. Bailey Hongzhuang was touched. Beichen's words deeply touched her heartstrings, making her understand her weight in Beichen's heart. Chapter 955. Beichen held Bailey Hongzhuang in his arms. His eyes, which were as deep as the sea, flickered with a strong sense of determination. There was one more thing that he did not say. Now, the mystery of Hongzhuang's origins has yet to be completely solved. No one knows what had happened to the Lan family back then. Most importantly, whether Hongzhuang's parents were still alive or not. Even though Hongzhuang's parents had been hunted down and had had no choice but to leave Hongzhuang in the general's mansion, they still do not know the final outcome. Perhaps they were still alive. If it was possible, he also hoped that he could obtain Hongzhuang's parents' permission to marry Hongzhuang. Come to think of it, Hongzhuang's parents' blessings were what she wanted the most. During this period of time, even though Hongzhuang had never mentioned this matter, he could sense it. Sometimes, the more one was unwilling to talk about something, the more one's obsession grew. Hongzhuang was now working so hard to raise her cultivation level because she wanted to have the ability to understand everything that had happened back then. No matter what, he would always stay by Hongzhuang's side. They would face all storms together. After Beichen had returned to his room to rest, Bailey Hongzhuang finally remembered Xia Honglang and Lu Shuerong's heaven-earth bags. She immediately opened their heaven-earth bags. She wanted to know what was in their heaven-earth bags as well. When she opened their heaven-earth bags, it was just as Bailey Hongzhuang had expected. The two of them were rather wealthy. The dazzling gold coins proved everything. Xiao He, Xiao Bai, and Baisher were all drooling as they stared at the pile of gold coins. How much food would they be able to eat with this amount? Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at the gold coins before her gaze landed on the other items. There were demon crystals, martial skills, medicinal herbs, and even some ores. Baisher's gaze had already landed on the colorful demon crystals. The heaven-earth bag was really a good item. There was no need to go out and buy food. It had rations again. Taking a closer look, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a satisfied smile. Her loot from this robbery was extremely good. The snow origin country was covered in ice and snow all year round, and some medicinal herbs that grew in the ice and snow also appeared here. If it was in other places, it would undoubtedly be very difficult to find such medicinal herbs. However, it was much easier in the snow origin country. Xia Honglang's Qiankuan bag contained these precious herbs, and the snow dragon grass among them made her eyes light up. Snow dragon grass was an extremely rare medicinal ingredient that grew in glaciers. The conditions for its growth were extremely harsh, and it was extremely troublesome to harvest it. If someone did not understand the characteristics of the snow dragon grass, they would not be able to pick it. Therefore, the snow dragon grass was especially precious. The effect of the snow dragon grass was to strengthen a cultivator's body, causing the muscles to become stronger and the skin to become tougher. In this way, it would be of great help during a battle. Normally, when the snow dragon grass was used in conjunction with a martial skill, the cultivator's physical strength would be greatly enhanced. Just like Bailey Hongzhuang's jade body cultivation technique, with the snow dragon grass, she might be able to break through to the second level of the jade body cultivation technique. Over the past few days, even though she had been cultivating the jade body cultivation technique, it was very difficult to cultivate a martial skill. Without certain conditions, it would be very difficult to break through. Chapter 956. Although Bewitching's strength was very powerful and his mastery of body cultivation techniques was much higher, the snow dragon grass was still quite useful to him. Bailey Hongzhuang continued to check Xie Honglang's qiankun bags. Aside from the snow dragon grass, there were some other medicinal ingredients. As long as she added a few other medicinal ingredients, the effect of the medicine would be even better. Thinking of this, Bailey Hongzhuang no longer hesitated and immediately began to concoct the medicine. Since she was going to stay in Yuanwu City for the next 2 days, she might as well take advantage of this opportunity to raise her cultivation as much as possible. This way, she would have more confidence when she went to the blood-ground abyss. When the three beasts saw that Bailey Hongzhuang was seriously concocting the medicine, they obediently stayed at the side. At this time, they could not disturb their master. By the time Bailey Hongzhuang finished concocting the medicine, it was already very late. Thinking that Bewitching should be resting, Bailey Hongzhuang did not disturb him. They had been sitting on the wyvern for the past few days and had not had a good rest. Now, it was time for them to rest. In Xie Honglang's qiankun bag, Bailey Hongzhuang saw a brochure for the auction. She casually browsed through the auction items written on the brochure. These items were all very good. It could be seen that the level of this auction was not low. However, she did not need them. However, when she saw the last auction item, Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but be stunned. It was a parchment scroll. Bailey Hongzhuang was very familiar with this parchment scroll. It was the same parchment scroll that she had obtained in Qishui City. It was the same thing. Qishui City and Yuanwu City were very far apart. When she had obtained this parchment scroll in Qishui City, she had felt that it was very special. Although it was only a quarter of the map, she did not even know what the map was for. However, just from the way the map was preserved, she could tell that this item was not simple. Originally, she had only collected a quarter of the map fragments. She thought that it would be very difficult to find the rest of the map fragments in the future. She didn't expect that she would encounter one so soon. Based on the location of the parchment scroll, the auction house had a certain understanding of its value. Otherwise, they wouldn't have arranged for the parchment scroll to be auctioned so late in the auction. It was common knowledge that the further an auction progressed, the higher the value of the items being auctioned. There was a touch of joy in her clear eyes. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved into a smile. She knew that if she got this map, she might be able to know what this map was referring to. At this moment, Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly felt that she had an affinity with this map fragment. Back then, she had only gotten it by chance. Now, in such a short period of time, she had already seen another fragmented map. Perhaps, she would be able to piece these 4 fragmented maps together into a complete map at some point in time. The next day, Bailey Hongzhuang got up and went to look for Bewitching. When Bewitching saw Bailey Hongzhuang standing in front of him with a sweet smile, a gentle smile appeared on his incomparably handsome face. "My wife, what has made you so happy?" Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. "I found something in those 2 fellows' qiankun bags yesterday." Chapter 957. Seeing that Bewitching had already expected this, Bailey Hongzhuang directly took out a bottle of medicine and handed it to Bewitching. The light blue liquid contained in the transparent glass bottle rippled slightly, like the sea, like the stars. It was very beautiful. Looking at the light blue liquid in his hand, Bewitching's eyes revealed a trace of doubt. "Wife, what is this?" Seeing that Bewitching finally revealed a look of curiosity, Bailey Hongzhuang's smile widened. "This is the medicine that I concocted." "What is it used for?" Di Beichen's gaze fell on the blue medicine in his hand. For Bailey Hongzhuang to be so proud, this medicine must have a significant effect. Most importantly, this so-called medicine was something that he had never seen before. However, after spending so much time with Hongzhuang, he was already used to this kind of situation. His wife always had an endless stream of new and interesting things. No matter if it was a lost pill or something else, it was perfectly normal for Hongzhuang to be involved in such a shocking matter. This medicine, it seemed like it was not something simple. Yesterday, I found snow dragon grass in that man's Qiankuan bag. Snow dragon grass can increase the strength of a cultivator's body and strengthen the hardness of the skin. However, this kind of medicine is used on the surface of the body and not in the body. Therefore, the effect of refining it into a pill is not very good. If the juice is directly smeared on the surface of the body, the stimulation will be very large and it will be very difficult to balance. Therefore, I concocted it into a medicine. This way, as long as this medicine is poured into the bathtub, it will have an effect. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved into a bright smile. This was the method that she often used to increase her strength in her previous life. Compared to other methods, this method was undoubtedly the most suitable. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Di Beichen's eyes lit up. He had never heard of such a method to increase one's strength before. As everyone knew, amongst all the martial skills, body transformation martial skills were the most difficult to cultivate. But as long as one had a certain background, their elders would definitely remind them of the importance of body transformation martial skills. As his strength increased, Di Beichen also realized the importance of body transformation martial skills. Therefore, he spent a lot of time and effort in cultivating body transformation martial skills. It was just that it wasn't easy to cultivate a body transformation martial skill. There weren't any other good methods, and his cultivation method was almost a masochistic one. At this moment, after listening to Hongzhuang's explanation, he felt that this method couldn't be better. That's a good idea. This is the first time I've heard of it. His bright and handsome face was tinged with admiration. He was afraid that Hongzhuang was the only one who knew how to do this. After all, as the young sect master of the Tiangang sect, he had seen many cultivators, but he had never seen anyone use such a method to cultivate a body-refining martial skill. Thinking of this, Di Beichen couldn't help but think of the time when he knew that Hongzhuang was in danger during the monstrous beast tide. He went to the Azure Water School to see Hongzhuang. At that time, Hongzhuang was also sitting in the bathtub. Thinking about it, this should be a method that Hongzhuang often used to cultivate. This medicine is also quite useful for you. You can try it, but you only need to pour a part of it each time. The medicinal power of the snow dragon grass is very strong. If you can't absorb it all at once, it will damage your skin. Bailey Hongzhuang explained. Chapter 958. Di Beichen nodded his head slightly. If Hongzhuang said that it was effective, then it was naturally effective. He had heard of the name snow dragon grass before, but he never thought that they would actually have it in the Qiankuan bag they seized this time. Thinking of this, Di Beichen could not help but find it funny. His wife's character of taking advantage of every opportunity had also allowed them to gain quite a bit. "Wife, do you have this medicine?" Di Beichen asked. Bailey Hongzhuang took out an identical bottle of medicine from her Qiankuan bag and waved it in front of Di Beichen. Her smile became even more charming and beautiful. "That guy's status is not low. He has 2 stalks of snow dragon grass, so I made 2 sets of this medicine." Bailey Hongzhuang's mood was very good. Towards this kind of medicine that could increase one's strength, the more the better. Thinking of this, it was not a bad thing to have more of these people looking for trouble on a daily basis. After all, this way, her wallet would be filled up by a lot. Seeing this, the smile on Di Beichen's lips widened. "My wife is really amazing." "Of course." Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows and smiled. Di Beichen, there's an auction in Yuanwu City tomorrow. Let's go take a look together, how about it? Bailey Hongzhuang handed the brochure for the auction to Di Beichen. They had originally planned to stay in Yuanwu City for 2 days before leaving. Now, it seemed that they would have to stay for 1 more day. All right. Di Beichen agreed without hesitation. He would never refuse anything that Bailey Hongzhuang wanted to do. However, with Hongzhuang's personality, if she did not take a fancy to the items in the auction, she would not stay in Yuanwu City for too long. Thinking of this, Di Beichen browsed through the brochure to see what Hongzhuang had taken a fancy to. Bailey Hongzhuang saw Di Beichen's action and couldn't help but chuckle. Guess what I've taken a fancy to? Hearing this, Di Beichen glanced at Bailey Hongzhuang, then looked at the flyer more carefully. After browsing for a while, Di Beichen found that although the value of the things on this leaflet was good, with Hongzhuang's current situation, there shouldn't be anything on it that she needed. Seeing the look in Di Beichen's eyes become deeper and deeper, the curve of Bailey Hongzhuang's lips also widened. Come to think of it, it was indeed difficult to guess what she was interested in. You can't guess, right? Bailey Hongzhuang smiled slyly. Di Beichen had always had an appearance of having a card up his sleeve, and it was rare for him to be unable to see things clearly. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang was about to say her thoughts, Di Beichen's fingers stopped at the parchment scroll. What you're interested in, is this? The low and charming voice was filled with confidence and certainty. Di Beichen smiled and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang, as if he had already confirmed the answer. After seeing that Di Beichen had guessed her thoughts, Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but be stunned for a moment. How did you know? Logically speaking, this should be very difficult to guess. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang confirmed his thoughts, Di Beichen's smile deepened. I've always known you. Since Hongzhuang did not lack the things on the list, if it was medicinal herbs, it would be too obvious. Hongzhuang would not be so confident to let him guess. It was something that he would not normally think of. After carefully looking through all the auction items, Di Beichen had already confirmed the result. Chapter 959. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Di Beichen suspiciously. Seeing Di Beichen's unfathomable expression, she did not ask any more questions. Di Beichen had always been extremely intelligent. Di Beichen's gaze once again fell on the parchment scroll. Just by looking at the order in which it was arranged, one could tell that the value of this parchment scroll was quite high. However, what exactly was the content of this parchment scroll? Just by looking at its appearance, it was likely that many people would be interested in it. Wife, have you seen this parchment scroll before? The pitch-black and bright eyes flickered with a curious light. With Bailey Hongzhuang's personality, if she did not have some understanding of this parchment scroll, she would definitely not participate in the auction for this unknown parchment scroll. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly and did not hide anything. That's right, I previously obtained a similar parchment scroll in Waterqi City. However, it was only a quarter of the map. If my guess is correct, this parchment scroll should be the same as the one I obtained. As long as I can gather these 2 parchment scrolls together, I will be able to obtain half of the map. Hearing this, Di Beichen immediately understood the value of this parchment scroll. Using such a special method to separate the parchment scroll was truly strange. Apart from extremely important items, no one would spend so much effort on it. Waterqi City and Origin Martial City were so far apart. For Bailey Hongzhuang to be able to coincidentally see these 2 parchment scrolls, this was truly a kind of fate. Bailey Hongzhuang immediately told Di Beichen the process of how she obtained the parchment scroll and how she found the map from the parchment scroll. Perhaps Di Beichen would have some guesses. Di Beichen looked at the quarter of the map that Bailey Hongzhuang handed to him and was also confused. The mountains and rivers on this map are very ordinary. There are no landmarks, so I am also unable to determine where this place is. Di Beichen said slowly as he returned the map to Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang was not disappointed by Di Beichen's answer. Just as Bewitching had said, the mountains and rivers on the map were very ordinary. Many places were like this, and there was no way to judge them. It's fine. Maybe we'll be able to tell after we get the second map fragment. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled indifferently. Now, even if she knew the location of the second map fragment, she still didn't know where the remaining 2 map fragments were. She didn't know whether she would be able to meet them in the future. However, this kind of unknown opportunity really made people full of interest. Perhaps they would inadvertently obtain a treasure. Bewitching nodded slightly. It's possible. Anyway, we will definitely get the parchment at the auction tomorrow. While Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang were in high spirits, Xie Honglang was frowning. When he had left the Qiankuan bag, he didn't feel anything. After all, nothing was more important than his own life. However, when he thought of the snow dragon grass in the Qiankuan bag, his heart was bleeding. Most importantly, the snow dragon grass didn't belong to him, but to his family. His family had asked him to buy the snow dragon grass from the auction and he had spent a large amount of money. However, before he could give the snow dragon grass to his family, he had encountered that kind of incident in the restaurant. Now that his family had questioned him, he was speechless. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.